All right, looks like we're live. Welcome everybody to another episode. Well, this is Sweetcast Live. It's been like 3 weeks, I think, since I've streamed, or at least 2 weeks, because things have just been busy. Got some awesome guests today. I'm excited to talk about skits. So we have Michael this way. Hello, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to have you. And then also Karshina. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Awesome. Great to have both of you here. All right, cool. Well, we'll let people get rolling in here a little bit, and I might as well get sharing the screen right now. You've got a book coming out called Skits. Is it Skits Comic or just Skits Comic, so people know what it is? But this is called Skits, correct?
Yeah, it's called Skits. And the first book is going to be called The Sun. So
Cool.
yeah, it's that simple. We just said Skits Comic. We did that for our YouTube channel and for our Twitter account, just so people know that it's a comic book.
Right.
It seems like the easiest thing to tell people right there.
Yeah, makes sense. People are making other kinds of books, video games, movies. Yeah, so that's good. This is really interesting art. Michael, is this you? Are you the artist?
Yeah, this is all the concept art that I've been working on. Actually, I've been working on this project for over 20 years now. So some of this work is older, maybe 5-10 years old. And then other stuff is, something that I might have done in the past year or so, getting people excited for the project. So
very cool. Yeah, it has my. I'm interested because you got this dude in a straitjacket, and then you've got these really interesting locations that don't seem real. So yeah, do you have a pitch for the book?
Yeah, the elevator pitch is Skits is a book about a guy who can't tell the difference between his dreams and reality. And it's that simple. That elevator pitches should be quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I hear people, they give an elevator pitch and it's like
yeah, it's like a 20-minute spiel.
Yeah, it should
So
be like
whenever
a
he's
sentence
done
or
with
two.
it, people go, "Oh, that really was an elevator pitch." I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
But if you want, we can actually go into it a lot more detail. I'm sure that's, since we're on here, that's something that you'd want to do.
Yeah, well, what's the plot?
Well, I actually haven't given out too much of that yet because I kind of want to hit people in the face because we still got a month or so, until we launch.
Cool.
But basically, I'll give you a rough idea. So let me give you a little bit of background as to how the story came about first. That's kind of interesting for people. About 20 years ago, I was working at a TV station. And while working at this TV station, I was working the graveyard shift, midnight to 8 a.m. And I ended up, my days and nights just seemed to kind of blend together. My sleep patterns were off and everything just felt really weird. So I ended up having these dreams of me in this straitjacket where every night a dream would be picking up where the dream the day before ended. So, yeah, I ended up having like 2 months of sequential dreams where I started having these stories. So I've written them down. I've done a lot of drawing. I've done a lot of exploration of the stories. And basically what I'm doing right now is I've just kind of taken those stories and given it a plot, a story, because when you dream, you have these dreams that are kind of like you got this thing going on and that thing going on. It's like, how do these things relate? Weird things will happen. So you got to kind of give it a meaning, so you can actually tell a readable story. So that's that's where Skits comes from, is these dreams that I had when I was working at this TV station.
Wow. That's interesting because I don't know, dreams are kind of interesting anyway. We could probably get into this. That's an interesting topic. But yeah, they're interesting anyway. But I've never heard of anybody that's had sequential dreams like 2 nights in a row, let alone that long.
Well, every now and then I'd have a night where I didn't have a dream, But for the most part, I was just having these same dreams, and they just kept going and going. And I was sleeping during the day. You know, I'd fall asleep at about 11 o'clock in the morning and wouldn't wake up until dark. And it just kind of, you know, everything just was cloudy. You know, when you're awake, it was kind of cloudy. When you're sleeping, you never felt like you were really sleeping. And I do a lot of lucid dreaming anyway. Just normally, I can usually, I know when I'm sleeping, I can wake myself up, I can make myself fly, I can do those sorts of things in my dreams anyway. But to actually have storytelling and to be able to decide where you're going with the story and everything, I mean, that to me was just, I've never experienced anything like it except for that one time in my life. So I've never read about anyone having those types of stories going on either. So for me, that's, you know, really unique.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just posted, for everyone watching, I just posted the link to the pre-launch page on Indiegogo, so you can get up there and sign up so that you'll be notified as soon as it launches. And this is going to be launching in the spring. So this is a good example. I'm going to say this live. It's a good example of people doing it right. They're taking their time ahead of time to promote it and talk about it and build things up. So yeah, great job. I love it. That's a good example.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so Karshina, she is my wife, and what she does is she's editing the book and she's helping me write it. One thing, as an artist, I don't know if you as a writer, you probably don't have to deal with this, but as an artist, I tend to skip around a lot and just kind of have things all over the place. So when I write things, you need someone to kind of help you pull it together and actually make it feel like something, you know? Yeah. So that's where she comes in. She's going to be editing and helping me write it, you know, make sure I stay on point with the theme and everything.
That's good.
Everyone loves a team up. So.
Yeah, that's really great. Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I don't know. So it sounds like then that this book has been a while in the making then.
Yeah. I have if I knew we were going to be talking about this, I would have brought some of my sketchbooks over here. I mean, I got piles of sketchbooks, like maybe 2-3 feet tall, where I just have artwork, you know, that I've been working on for decades now. But it's, you know, that stuff is more exploration. The stuff that you were just showing right there is more of me trying to put the story together. You know, concept art, I think, is really important. Even if you're doing comic book stuff, it's like, it's good to get an idea of where a scene is going to be taking place. You know, what's the mood, what's the colors, what time of the day is it, what time of the year is it. You know, all of those things are really, really important. So it's like you can kind of take those ideas and those stories that were going on in my dreams back then and say, okay, I remember that. It was really stark. I had a lot of reds for some reason. What was going on? Let's kind of manipulate that. Let's bring that into the storyline. So if you have a whole bunch of those that you've been working on, then you can kind of come back and take your story, and then you actually do the book. And it's like, okay, I already know what this scene is going to look like. I have a visual. I know where things are going to go. So for me, like, the concept art is super important, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I find, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm curious, like, with how you're doing research and everything, is an interesting concept to me is first off, the title Skits. What's that? Well, like, I think it could go two different directions, so I'm curious.
Exactly. It's got two different meanings. You know, you got skits, obviously. The guy's in a straitjacket, so schizophrenic, you know. And I told you before that, you know, he doesn't know the difference between dreams and reality. So skits, but then also skits is you're telling a story. You know, you got a play that you're acting out. You know, there's something going on there. So if people actually go over to our channel, they'll actually see that we're doing some videos and stuff like that. And some of that stuff has to do with what actually happens in the book. So it'll relate to what's going on in the book, which is really good.
And the cool thing about skits, what Michael was talking about with going in from reality into the real world, it is the same thing as playing skits like in a movie or in live theater. You're going from your real life and then you're going into this, you know, reality of this writer's, you know, imagination. and performing it, for people. And so it still plays along the hip of what's real and what's not really real. So as a writer and editor, you have to bring out the best of both worlds, so to speak,
Right.
to make sure that people can sort of evolve with the mystery. Like, am I really in the dream world or am I in this reality? Like, do I see myself doing something like this, or is it just me reading about, oh, this person's experience? So it
Yeah.
becomes sort of part of that psyche that you have to, play with. So
This is interesting timing for me because I don't know if either of you guys do this, but I will get into this mode where I guess it's YouTube autoplay mode, and I'll just look at random stuff that seems interesting, and then I'll get sucked into some totally different, thing that I would normally not be interested in. And lately, I've been watching these videos about people with schizophrenia and their firsthand accounts and interviews and things like that. And I've known a couple people in my lifetime that have had schizophrenia. One in particular that was really open, and he would tell me a lot about his hallucinations, and he would actually paint them. It was just therapeutic for him. And I know it's different for everybody, but for him, he would paint them. And it was just it was interesting. It was sad because I know it was difficult for him, and he would express some of the thing. But it really is an interesting thing because, like you say, it is. I hadn't thought about it this way before, but in one of the videos I was watching, they were saying that everyone hallucinates, just most people wake up. It's a dream. And so, it's really, really interesting timing because I've been kind of looking at this stuff. So yeah, it's super interesting.
Well, that's really interesting because coming from the art community, my background is fine art. I've actually known a ton of artists that, would be considered outsider artists, and that's really the type of stuff that they deal with is they deal with catharsis, taking their problems and actually going through art processes to kind of get it out and stuff, just like you were talking about. And, I've had, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 friends where they were right on that edge of having those particular problems. And it's really, at one point it's sad, but at the same time, it's interesting to just kind of live with them and to see what they have to go through on a daily basis. It's something that's not really talked about too much. And, I've had a few friends die over the years who's had problems like that. And it's close to home. I'll definitely say that it's definitely close to home. So
yeah,
that's why they say a lot of artists, when they make fun or they make jokes like the mad scientist or the crazy artist, it's like you have no idea, like the pressure or the timing of things. And there's so much going on in a creative mind that a lot of people would love to get their hands on. What are they thinking? Like, how did you get this? Because when you see an art piece or we see someone on stage, you've read stories like Christian Bale, who goes off, because some light person walks in front of his scene because he's really into the scene. But that makes for a great scene because he's really into his art. And you have to think about creative people having a therapist, and art is very therapeutic. Whether you're drawing, even Van Gogh was, very therapeutic when he was in the asylum in France. It's something that he did. Same thing with people who can't speak live. Then they start doing like plays or they start doing something and they come alive. So it does border on that insanity clause, of being a creative artist. It's not just, oh, hey, look at me, I'm cool and I can do stuff. It's like, no, I actually am going through something that I want to, let it out, and that's a great thing to do. So
yeah, it's interesting. And the more I work with artists too, I'm thinking there's something about like top level artists that like some accumulated set of skills that you need to have, or there's just some trend. I don't know what it is. There's stereotypes about every kind of college major, but yeah, it is really interesting though that it just takes I think you're saying like this deep commitment and then you can pull out some really great art. So
Yeah,
I like that.
You got to learn how to walk that line, though. You know, you don't want to go. You want to tiptoe on the edge of the precipice. You don't want to, fall off of it. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We got 44 people in here. It looks like right now. Welcome everybody. I haven't been paying all that much attention to the chat. If you have something to say to me, you can ask Speakcast or the super chats should work. Yeah, they do work if you're interested in being heard. Appreciate that.
We're definitely interested in answering any questions. You know, that's always a big thing. Love interaction with people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I want to look back at the, people kind of churn in and out. And so we'll definitely look back at some of that artwork again. I'm going to shift gears because I don't want to be lying to people in the topic of the video. Let's see, the video is how many comics is too many comics. This is not that new of a story, but it didn't really get talked about an awful lot. I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. And I want both of your input on this. I'm curious to know what you think. Let me pull StreamYard here, do a little shuffling on my screens. There we go. All right, so this is Newsarama. I hope I can get in here and not have any viruses or anything like that. I won't get infected. But this is interesting to me. Image Comics, to me, over the past, 10 years, probably since their inception, they're usually very honest as to what they think about the comic book industry. And generally speaking, sometimes they can be really aggressive toward Marvel or DC in some of their criticisms. And so I always find it interesting when they say something that sort of goes against the grain. And so Image Comics is actually saying there are too many comic books for comic book stores to handle. I've heard other people say this. I know Alterna Comics, as Peter Semedius mentioned this. I think it's interesting. What do you think at face value before we get into this? Are there way too many comics in comic stores?
Well, how good are the comics? I mean, that would be my first question. I mean, too many comics? I mean, there's not too much of a good thing. If they're good comics, then I would say, let as many good comics as you can, because me and Karshina, we go to the comic book shop every week and we're always looking for good stuff. The tough thing is it's hard to find good stuff, So that would be my first initial thing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the thing is, if there's a comic, I was thinking about this. If there's like a comic that I need to have, I will find a way to get it. You know what I mean? I think that's how most people are with most things. At the same time, I can see how bookshops are flooded, perhaps, or they can get flooded, or it just gets difficult to be an indie comic creator and really get even if you have distribution, to actually get your book into the bookstore, because there's just
my initial reaction is, well, how organized is that comic book shop? I used to be a librarian, and so you're now telling me that libraries are full of too many books.
A lot of books.
You know what I mean? That's just because of my own experience. I mean, the filing system and learning where to go. If you're gonna place, let's look at your basic LCS shop. It's like they put all the new stuff here first, then they put all the old stuff in the back, and then you have to go through the bins, to find all your older issues. Well, I've noticed that, when you go to, back in the olden days, kids, when you used to go to the library, they had the new book displayed, but then you knew exactly where to go for what you wanted. So if you wanted, fiction, you go to fiction, you go to, movies, you go to movie,
right.
Such and so forth. If a comic book shop is disorganized and there's just way too much for them to handle, and they're just doing it by label. So you have DC over here, Marvel over here, then that's where people are going to gravitate to and then miss the little guys. But if you have a section where it's this is the all ages group here, this is the group here, you have people that would stream in and go directly to those sections, just like a regular library, and everything will be fine. If it's too convoluted, then I don't know where to go. You're disorganized. Yeah. So it's okay, well, I see the cover of this. I really don't read this type of comic, but the cover looks cool, but then you miss all the things that you normally do go see. You know what I mean? So it's how they organize.
Kind of takes a lot of planning. I don't know. Every comic shop that I've been into has not been, they're not using the Dewey Decimal System.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a scavenger hunt, which can be fine. It can be fun too.
Well, yeah,
But I don't know.
when Karshina goes to a comic book shop, the first thing she's usually doing is she's looking around for the horror section, and if it doesn't have a horror section, she's like, I don't like this comic book shop.
Yeah. Right. They're usually just by publisher, it seems like. Here's all the Marvel stuff in this pile.
Yeah.
Here's all the DC stuff. Yeah. Going by genre might be a better idea. Let's hear what they have to say, and we'll see. I don't know. We'll see if we're understanding this right. All right. So this is let's see, Eric Stevenson. He's the publisher at Image Comics. So the article starts: one of the biggest problems facing the comic industry is way too many books, according to Image Comics publisher Eric Stevenson. He says comic book stores can't keep up with ordering them. There's just too much to keep track of. And if a specialty market catering to this specific type of content is overwhelmed by the amount of books being published, that's definitely going to be an issue for other sales channels. That's interesting.
So basically, exactly what we talked about. You're not organized. And like what Michael said, if I'm specifically in the horror genre and your comic book shop doesn't have that section or is ordering too much of it, then yeah, it can get daunting. But are you organized enough to even have a section, or you're just by publisher?
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
if you go to a comic book shop, usually they have just rows and rows of long boxes, right? You go in there and they just have piles and piles of long boxes. Now, if you're not looking for a specific title, you wouldn't even know how to browse that stuff. I mean, I walk in, and I actually worked at a comic book shop when I was a teenager, and I know how it is. But like, I walk in and I'm saying, I don't even want to look through all these boxes because I just don't care,
Yeah.
So if I'm someone who likes to buy comic books and I'm not even wanting to pillage through the long boxes, what makes you think that someone just regularly off the street is actually going to want to do that?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's like I've been thinking about this a lot, but I need a reason to buy a comic. And you have to give me the reason first, it seems like, or it's a lot more helpful. I can go to a comic shop and just browse around and find something that interests me. But again, like that's difficult to do because it's just piles and piles of comics, There's some that are getting that, they get showed off more than others for sure.
And another thing is the comic book shops, at least the ones that we go to, seem to be buying or seem to be trying to sell less and less of the books, the big books, the trades and stuff like that. And I think it's because of places like Barnes and Noble or Amazon. I'm guessing those places are probably selling that sort of thing. But that was the area that I used to gravitate towards the most, because I want the art books from the 70s, what do I got here? I got something of Will Eisner the other day. I went to a bookshop and they actually had a book, a section where they had some old artist stuff, and I found an old book of Will Eisner, and I was like, oh man, this is great. This is something I don't have. But those sections seem to be disappearing from newer comic book shops, in my opinion.
And then what do you do when you're a new reader? Like if you're a parent or you're, babysitting or what have you, and you're bringing a new reader into a comic book shop because you think it's cool for them to, read something. And then what do you do? Normally you would see a parent bring their kid, and they'll either stand by their parent when their parent, again, is at those sections where it's either a title of DC, Marvel, or this. So of course the kid grows up like, I love Spider-Man, I love Batman. Granted, everyone does, but then it's like, are you gonna let your kid go off and browse through, without it? You know what I mean? So it does need to have some organization where not just kid comics section, but okay, well, some kids don't like to talk. They just like to read, and they like to read something that's, cool. Okay, great. Let's read, Underdog. And then you got other kids who are sophisticated. What do you do for that section of kids? Like, just put them in a kids comic section. They're just like, I'm over Underdog. Like, is there something else with action? Is there something else that I can actually, R.L. Stine or, whatever. So it's like, what do you do for a brand new reader, which is a new generation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because basically these are the people that's going to be paying our bills next.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
and for all the books coming out every month, there really aren't that many for kids. It seems, or at least
Right.
again, at my local comic shop, I took my kids there recently, and I could not find. There were only a few. There were like 4 different titles for kids. It was kind of depressing.
Wow.
It is depressing. I did a thing if I can say, on my show, Come Get Some, where it was just kids comics, and I had a flood of comics, from parents again. Oh my gosh, where are these titles? And I'm like, oh, I got these on Free Comic Book Day, but they should be at your local comic book shop. And they're like, no, they're not. And I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah.
What do you do?
Right.
Yeah.
They have to pick and choose because there's so many books. I'm going to answer this question real quick. This is Chief of Comics, Sweet Cast, all caps. You got to get in with EVS and Cecil tomorrow and get some launch traffic. I think around noon they go live. Yeah, there was like a bit of a spat going on Twitter about my campaign launching. It's hard. It's difficult. Let me explain a few things here real quick for everybody. Downcast #2 is launching tomorrow. I've been promoting it that it's launching tomorrow for weeks. And yeah, so people know that it's coming. I've got the mailing list still. I've been working on it. Cash Grab is also launching tomorrow. I have no control over that. I tried to avoid directly competing with other campaigns, but it's bound to happen because there's just a lot of books, right? And that's all. I guess, there's a dual meaning for it. So the thing is, I think that both of our campaigns can do very well. And I think this is a good idea, Chief of Comics, just, crossing streams, so to speak, getting traffic. We're all sending a ton of people to Indiegogo tomorrow. So hopefully I'm not too stressed out about it. I think it'll be good. But yeah, Downcast is launching tomorrow. Let me see.
Well, congratulations. It is what it is, it is what it is. I mean,
right. It's one of those things like, so I made a video about this on competition and how, like planning out when your campaign is going to be is helpful because you can, you don't want all the big campaigns launching on the same day or even the same month, same pay period. But it's not like we're one big publishing company. These are all a bunch of smaller publishing companies. So yeah, I specifically avoided competing with Cyberfrog. And then I know in February, there's going to be a ton of campaigns. So I thought that was a good enough reason to go in January, but there's still a ton of campaigns in January. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything out loud on a video. I should have made it a secret. I don't know.
Well, like I said, congratulations. If that's, when you said it, and congratulations to everyone, because if that's when they want to do it, then that's, I'm not so much into because we're new to, people out there in the world, and hello, thank you very much. But if that's the date that I put, that's the date that I put. I'm just like that,
Yeah. You do your best planning and stuff. I remember the first time. I'll have to reminisce. Tomorrow I'll do a stream when I launch my campaign and maybe reminisce on the last time I launched. But it was like there were just all these little things that went wrong. But in hindsight, it was like everything was fine. It was great.
Yeah, the littlest things go really big, especially when you're in the moment of it.
Oh yeah. You're like, why is this link not working? And I've got it turned off, and just little things that's stressful. Let's see. Death Metal Hero says, in the shop I work in, we have everything alphanumeric by title. All right. As long, if you got a method and you stick with it, I think that's helpful, especially for people that are going to your comic shop often. That makes sense. I'm curious, Death Metal Hero, since you work at a shop, do you agree with this? Are there too many comics coming out every month? Let's see. Chief of Comics, I think launching the same time as Cash Grab is a good idea. Yeah, there are going to be a lot of people going there. So I don't know. It'll be an experiment. Everyone can learn from what's going on, and we'll see. Let's see. So just catching up with the chat. Rot 10 Glory. Hello. Says, you'll do well, Clint. I honestly don't think it will harm you. Get yourself on Cecil's channel to promote along with him. He'll be down. All right, yeah. Yeah, I know Cecil's been super busy lately. Same as me. We've got a lot going on. But yeah, I want to chat with Cecil. I'll see if I can talk to him. That'd be fun to do a stream with him. I've actually never streamed on Cecil's channel before, and I've never had him on my channel before, so that'd be kind of fun. All right.
Everyone loves a team up.
Yeah, it's fun. Everyone, yeah. I know there's another. Trying to remember this name, what the name of his campaign is, but Michael. I know he did that alien abduction book from last year with Ebi Canales, and he's just such a hard worker and a hard promoter. But he's launching tomorrow as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's Michael Derrick. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah, I've had him on the show before.
I'm guessing a bunch of people were waiting through the holiday season, and now they're just starting to hit it as hard as they can.
And it'll be interesting because generally speaking, January is not a great month for crowdfunding, like statistically, but it's one of those things like the chicken and the egg. Is it not a good month for crowdfunding because people don't launch crowdfunding campaigns usually? Do you know what I mean? Or is it because it's really not good? It might just not be a good month for crowdfunding.
I think it's different now because everyone has mailing lists, or at least I hope they do. I mean, that's the big thing that we got. It's like we got to get people on the mailing list. That's paramount to anything. And, if you got those people, they're on there for a reason. They're going to come back you whenever you got stuff for sale. And they know it's not every couple weeks. It takes time for this stuff to come out. So
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are expecting it coming too. That's the other benefit too, is like my mailing list is twice the size that it was last time, so that's good. That's promising. That's awesome. And my YouTube channel is twice the size as it was last time, so I don't know. Right. I think it'll be good. All right,
we're hoping to get people on our mailing list as well, because I mean, we're trying to learn from people who have successes, and that's one of the things is seeing what people are interested in, and that's one of the things that we want is, hey, sign up. And we're telling people, hey, it's not, we understand that you're on this mailing list and this mailing list, and it gets monotonous with all the emails you're getting. Yeah. We're only sending out things that's pertaining to the book, and that's about it. So
and this is one of those things, I'm not sure what the correct way to do it is, but I'm really, really conservative with the emails that I send out, just because I don't want people to be like, all right, you're spamming me, Right. So yeah, I take it really easy on the mailing list. I'm glad one of our mods here, Matthew Fowler, is posting a link to your mailing list for the pre-launch page. So check it out, everybody, for sure. Yeah. Let's get back into this article a little bit. I think this is a valid point, and that's price, quantity plus price. So this is Eric Stevenson. He says, worse, it's going to trickle down to readers because at $4 and $5 an issue, that limits the number of comics someone can reasonably afford within a single month or every month. Yeah, so you've got the price versus the number of books versus also just market depth. And I wish I knew how many comics readers there were in the world. I'm sure maybe there's statistics out there.
I'm guessing there's more in Japan than there are here.
You're probably right.
I mean, whenever I go to a bookstore and I see a manga that I'm interested in, I never have any problems paying the price, because I just look at it and it's like one of those big old shaggy sandwiches from Scooby-Doo or something like that. It's like, I'm not going to be able to fit it in my mouth, so I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to buy it,
Oh yeah. They're doing something right in Japan.
Yeah, definitely.
Pixel Trader, this is a good point, because he reminded me as well. This is for both of you. He says, tell Skits to get his darn creator profile submitted already.
I saw the email. I'm sorry, it's I got a lot of emails coming in daily, but I'm definitely going to get it up on there. Sorry about that. I will get it on there.
Yeah. Here's a question. I'll send this. This is for everybody. What is better, Legend of Zelda or Super Mario Brothers?
Zelda, hand down.
Zelda.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, all right.
I don't know why. Is that? I don't know. We'll see. Let us know. Thumbs up if you hate me. Thumbs up if you like me. We'll do it like PewDiePie.
Is it because of my player one?
I don't know. I'm just like I haven't really played Zelda actually. I've played Zelda in like Super Smash Bros. Yeah, I played
Yeah.
like NES, and then I switched to PlayStation. So I don't know. They had NES, right? They have Zelda on NES.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
need
that's
to, I
where
need
it
to
came
try
out
that.
on that platform.
yeah.
It was the golden cartridge, The
And
Legend of Zelda.
if I believe
Oh,
right,
that's
it was
right.
the only NES game that you could actually save your game.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that correct? It was the only one on the NES platform where you could actually save your game.
sounds good to me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think most games. Yeah, definitely not Super Mario Brothers. You couldn't.
No, no.
Yeah, they're those are fun though. Now I want to play video games. Death
See,
Metal Hero
there you
says, yeah, Death Metal Hero says too many comics that people aren't excited about. Yeah, that's the big thing. If they're
Yep.
awesome comics you're excited about, you're gonna get them. The general response when I ask people if they are digging the books they've been reading is, it's okay. Seems nobody is excited anymore.
You,
Too
you
bad.
know, something that I heard someone say this once on a stream. I can't remember who it was, but I thought it was pretty smart. And they said back in the 90s when the comics were doing so good, you would actually look at the comic and they looked amazing. And then you would go and, say like the X-Men. And then you would go and look at the X-Men cartoon and it wasn't that great. And then you would go look at the X-Men video game, not too great either. The comic books, if you went to the comic books, that's where the characters and everything looked the best. It looked amazing. But nowadays, you go and you see like an X-Men video game, and the video game looks way better than the comics. So why would you actually buy a comic if you can just buy a video game and play it for a really, really long time? Because it looks way
Yeah.
better. The movies look way better. Everything looks better than the comic.
And people, they make decisions like that. Absolutely. It's like, hey, I'm going to spend X amount of money and get Y amount of entertainment hours out of this, entertainment product. So yeah, it is tough. You're definitely competing there,
Yep.
Beyond just other comics.
Yep.
Well, remember the technology got better. So, I mean, to your point, Michael, it's because I work in that industry, or I have worked in that industry for a long time. It's the technology has gotten better. That's why they had 8-bit, 16, 32, and now the graphics, the way it looks, you can now transfer that onto the big screen and see exactly what you're looking for. Because then you're correct. You can pay. I think you had a commenter that's like $4, or the guy Steven said $4 or $5 for one comic. Well, you pool your money together and buy one video game for $64, and then you've got that video game that you can play over, play different characters. Usually in a comic for $4, you're like, oh, I like this character, but he died. All right, you got to keep coming back and keep coming back. Whereas essentially as a video game, you can just press reset and the guy comes back to life, and then you can play him over and over.
All right. There's the I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I can't remember the word from my marketing classes, when I was in college, but it was like there's direct competition. I think it's indirect competition. Maybe there's, I don't know. Someone correct me in the chat, I guess.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it works. I think people know what I'm talking about. This is a really interesting quote from Eric Stevenson, and I think I agree with this, but I don't know. It's kind of a testament to the sorry state that I don't know, like great comics are in. But he says every publisher, and I want to be clear that I absolutely include Image in this, could do a better job of curating their content instead of consistently flooding the market with books that may not have an actual audience. Yikes.
Yep.
Mm.
I would say 100% with that one.
Yeah. It seems like they're definitely like, I don't know. It's almost like the easier thing to do is like, we don't know what of these comics are going to sell well, so we're just going to pump them all out. You know what I mean? We'll just throw a lot at the wall and see what sticks, and we're bound to, I don't know, make some money or something. But that really isn't. I don't think that's a great way to think about it. If you were focusing on the page count or focusing on, the quality, really curating better books, more people would be interested in buying comics. And that would actually mean there's more money in the system, and then more in theory, you could have more new books, more indie creators are able to take a chance on other books. You know what I mean? Or the prices could go down. There's so many other things that get involved with it. But that's tough.
Well, it's a top-down thing. You know, if the comic book industry isn't curating itself, why would the comic book shops curate themselves?
Yeah.
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 It
Let's
all
see.
goes back to organization. Yeah.
Yeah, it's merchandising. You know, no one wants to actually get in there and say, "Hey, you know, this is what we should be doing. Let's focus on what works. Let's build on that." It's like, let's just toss it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
That it's a good segue to because the question is, what could Image do or has done, and what could they do to improve things? So Eric Stevenson says, over the course of 2019, we've launched fewer books, like a third less, he explained. We're planning to continue that going into next year because we saw positive results from thinning the line over the course of this year. So they are actually thinning their line.
Well,
I wish that Marvel would too.
I think they have to. You know,
yeah.
If you look at the numbers that are actually being sold, it's like I think they have to make some chops. You know.
Well, my question would be: is where would those creators go? Like if you are thinning the line, which is basically another marketing way of saying restructuring and basically saying you're fired, where then will those creatives go? Will they go to another publisher that continues that, or will they just start doing their own independent and then flood the market with independent artists that they go on their namesake? Like, well, I used to do, or I used to work with, and then you go, oh yeah, that's right, you did work on that big publisher, and then now they're flooding the independent market. So then where would they go? That's a better question.
That is a good question, especially because Image Comics doesn't, like, they're not hiring the creators, they're just publishing their book and it's creator owned stuff. And so those same creators can absolutely take it to Indiegogo or Kickstarter or wherever, and they can just do their own thing. So yeah, that's a really good point. I'm sure that more of that's going to happen.
I don't know if Marvel's gonna actually do this. The thing is the money that they spend on comics and just pushing whatever they can out there and flood the market. I mean, that's a tactic that people with a lot of money do when they know that they can win just by doing that. They're going to be able to squeeze the market, and at the end they'll be the last man standing because they have all this money behind them now that Disney owns them. You know, back when it was just Marvel, back in the 90s, they had to say, oh, you know, we're doing this, we're selling these things. And then when the market started to crash, they were like, oh my gosh, we got to cut back and everything.
Yeah.
Marvel doesn't have to do that anymore because they have a backer that says, you know, the comic books don't really make us any money anyway, comparative to all our other properties. We'll just use it and just create stuff. We'll see what happens, but we don't have to stop because it's not really that important anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. It is part of their strategy. It makes sense. I mean, I've never heard them say this, but DC Comics has criticized them they've criticized Marvel for all the books that they're putting out. DC has thinned their line out. It sounds like Image Comics has and will continue to thin their line out. But I guess, I don't know, that's where they are in the market. Marvel has most of the market share. So it's almost, like you say, it's in their benefit just to flood the shelves.
I've actually worked at companies where we've done this, you know, where I worked at a small company and then a big company comes along and buys it out. And that's exactly their strategy, that we have so much money, we can just keep pushing stuff out there so that everyone has to buy from us, and we'll eventually just kill out all the little companies, or we'll buy them up. So.
Yeah. Here's another quote from Eric Stevenson. I think this is, it's interesting. I don't know. Again, like, I respect Eric Stevenson, especially when he shares some very critical opinions of the comic book industry. He used to do a lot more of that. So I like him doing this again. He says, by that same token, we're using different criteria to judge what we do and don't do, Stevenson said. A few years back at a Comics Pro meeting, I spoke about the fact that we're doing too much science fiction, but I think it's more than just singling out a specific genre. It's isolating the audience for whatever is being proposed. that if you could isolate the audience, that would be amazing. But deciding on what kind of books do people want, and having, instead of like, oh, people like science fiction, therefore we're going to make everything science fiction, we're just flooding it with science fiction.
Right.
Picking like what's the optimal amount of titles, quality curated titles in science fiction to be giving people, and so on for other titles as well, other genres as well.
Well, ultimately, you got to let the market decide. If it sells well, then you keep it. If it doesn't, then you just need to get rid of it. I mean, that ultimately that's the economy that we live in. That's the marketplace that we live in. It's like, if it sells, then it's good. If it doesn't, then get rid of it. I mean, it's that simple.
The counterpoint, though, to that is, okay, so DC is selling what? It's selling on its name of the main 3 names that you can, think about for a comic book. Anything else in DC, you don't know who it is. I mean, it's the same thing about, okay, Batman would be forever and ever and ever until we've passed and gone, whatever resurgence it's going through. I mean, look, they've got the Pattinson guy now being Batman, so there's going to be a comic about that, and whatever. So then what else on DC label can you name, or the average person name, besides Batman? And then besides Joker? It's just like, then what else are you going to give me? So yeah, they sell well, but then what else? I mean, to a point, you're going to get saturated in the market and be like, well, I'm over it. Is there anything new? That's just my opinion. But Marvel is giving you, at least, it may give you too many titles, but at least it's giving you a variety. And you can say, okay, I know Marvel this and Marvel that, but at least I have a variety. A main publisher may say, well, okay, well, we're thinning out, and we're only going to thin out on these 2 names. And it's like, but how far can you go on that? Like, how many times can Batman die? Like,
see, on back in the day, what they would do is they had their main titles, like you're talking about, but they would have a couple of them titles because they would sell well. But also, what they would do is they would develop characters within those lines. They knew that those lines would always be there, and they'd throw in characters here and there. It's like, Spider-Man, they had the Sinister Six. You had Sandman. You had all these different characters that would actually just come in from time to time, and they developed them over a long period of time. Sometimes it wasn't doing so good, so it wasn't in there. Other times, other characters were doing really good, and then they would have them in there a lot, So it's like you play other characters and you develop them on the backs of your strong characters,
Absolutely. Let's see. I'll finish it off here with his last quote. He says, because we publish creator-owned comics, we're in a position where we could publish anything, but I think it's in the creator's best interest, that the industry's best interest, that we instead exercise some prudence. I don't know. I think anybody from, I mean, it's hard to say, but for me personally, when I'm doing an indie comic, when I'm doing a book, coming up with something new, I try to think a little bit about how viable is this in the market. It's really hard though to know. I don't have a whole research firm, you know what I mean, to find out how viable it is. So at the end of the day, it's just like, if you've got a good idea you believe in, that's the route to go.
The question is, how viable are you? Because that's what you're doing. You're selling you as a person right here for people to buy your book. So how viable are you? Well, you can tell by your numbers, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, if on paper, I wouldn't think I don't know. I can't answer that question. Art T. Bear can, though. Hey, Art, how's it going?
It's going good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great, Art.
Yeah. Interesting conversation.
Yeah. What do you think? Are there too many books on the shelves, Art? Too many comics.
I think there's too many of everything these days. I think there's too many movies. I think there's too many TV shows. I think there's too many channels. What was that Bruce Springsteen song or whatever? 57 channels and nothing on. There's just so much that just keeps growing and growing and growing. And then I think it just takes away the importance of whatever it is. Like when I broke into comic books, there was like the X-Men, right? You wanted to work on the X-Men because that's where all the action was, right? That was the book. And so then you worked real hard to get to that point. And then you get that point, you're like, yeah, I've arrived. But now, what is that book? I don't even know what that book is. Like, I remember having a conversation with, I'm not going to name his name, but we were talking about the industry, and I said, how do you know you have arrived now? How do you know? You know what I mean? Like, what book is that book? It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
have no idea. Speaking about the X-Men books, I bought the new line that had come out, and I think it's written by Jonathan Hickman, is it?
Oh yeah.
And I actually mentioned this on one of my videos where I read the issue number 1, and there was literally nothing in the whole book that made me want to turn the page. Every page would go by, and there was just nothing on it. And here's the X-Men. They're like got the most amazing powers and everything, and there was nothing to make me want to turn the page through the whole book. They didn't do anything special through the whole book.
Yeah,
You know?
that's not a good thing.
No, it's
Yeah.
a far cry from what it used to be.
Yeah.
But that's what
And-
I'm saying. It's only relying on its name. Like, how many books can you do on the X-Men? It's like, okay, everyone has got their story, they've got their backstory, they've got their prequel. It's like, okay, we already know, like, from conception to death, like, we know your backstory, but how many more books can we do out of that? Like, it's
Yeah.
it's a burnout at that point.
And maybe this is part of the reason why indie comics are doing so well, you know, in particular on crowdfunding sites, especially Indiegogo, it seems. But I don't know, like I'll be honest, like most of the comics I buy are from Indiegogo now. And a big reason for that is that they've given me a reason to be interested in the book. You know, you can follow, it's beyond just, well, what's on the shelf today, you know?
Yeah, the same.
fresh.
I do the same, and I think it's because these books, Clint, they don't come with baggage. Like, you know what I mean? These are fresh new stories. These don't come with like 70 years worth of baggage and all of the, you know, the history and the backstory of all these characters. That can be fun, but also it's like what is this DC doing now where they're aging up their characters and creating a bunch of younger ones? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, the what are they calling it? The G5, right? Is that it?
G5, yeah.
Yeah,
G5.
and it's like what level of autism? No, nothing against, you know, that, but like, you know how you have those conversations with your friends? Is like, it's kind of silly. Why isn't Batman older than he is? You know, like you have these conversations, and well, I never start these conversations for one. I just listen to them, and I always think it doesn't matter. These characters are timeless. They're not, you know, as soon as you start aging them, they become they have an expiration date. So once again, DC's doing this thing where they're putting an expiration date and they're trying to relaunch something, try to revitalize it, but at the same time, it has an expiration date. You know what I mean? Like, how long
Yeah.
can you go before then the next generation is too old? And then the next
Right.
generation, then every 10 years you have to reinvent this stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like what Clint said about doing a lot of the projects, the independent projects, because I mean, what they're showing right now, and thank you very much for showing our stuff, it's fresh ideas, it's fresh new content, and it's fresh things. I mean, you can buy it, you know, direct from the person making it, and that's always a good thing, you know, for the audience, you know.
Yeah, and also we got to sell our product, you know, and the only way we're going to sell our product, especially in a visual medium, is to just get right out there and put it in front of their face. We got to hit them with visuals. We got to bring the visuals as strong as we can. And I love it that you're showing the stuff here, because that's really what our book is. I'm an artist,
Mhm.
and I got to lean on my ability to draw and paint. And it's like, that's what I'm going to bring to you. It's like, I got to bring those visuals, and I got to hit you in the face, and I got to make you turn the page, every page, so that people will want to keep coming back for more books. Because if people get to the middle of the book and they don't even want to turn the page because there's nothing there that's exciting to make them turn the page, well, then people shouldn't be buying my book.
Yeah.
I forgot the rule was that every 2 pages or every 3 pages should have a small payoff.
Yep.
You know, so
It's a
your
rule of
story.
thirds.
Yeah.
So yeah, every third.
Yeah.
Which is what
And
trying
not-
to do something different with video as well, like doing little mini movies or doing things to say, hey, we're bringing this new independent book to life with a movie that'll get you excited about what we're trying to sell you. It is not just stale, and it's not just something that, oh, okay, somebody new in the market, great, it's perfect. No, did you see that movie that he did? I mean, it's interesting. And that's what we're trying to do, is interest people, or at least pique their interest to buy our book. And so that's mainly why we're doing all of this, right? So,
well, speaking of your book, now we've got 60 people. It just bumped up to 60 people watching right now. Will you give us a short pitch for your book, Skits?
Sure. Skits is a book about a guy who can't tell the difference between his dreams and reality. And the book here is actually his adventures.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, it looks interesting. This is going to be launching in the spring, sometime around March, correct?
Yep, mid-March or a little bit later than that.
Cool. So the best thing that you can do to be in the know is join the mailing list. They've got the pre-launch page. Yes. I just posted the link in the chat for everyone to check out. Guys, I'm going to show you something too. I'm going to shift gears one more time here. Kelsey Shannon is working on a cover for me.
Ooh,
nice. Let's see it.
He even said, we're really down to the wire. He's still working on it right now. But I'm going to show you all a little sneak peek. He's really close.
Ooh, an exclusive.
This is unfinished. Okay, so it's not quite there. Not quite there, but it still looks really cool. Here we go. Share screen. Boom. Yeah. So I was talking to him about doing a trading card. Like, hey, that would be cool if you did a trading card for me. And he's like, oh, I'll do a cover.
That's way better.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, all right, we can work something out. Yeah. Dale says Kelsey is too overworked already. I know. I think this is part of the reason why he said he was overworked. We talked about this months ago on, like, oh yeah, sometime we'll do it. And then, it was just really cool that he was like, yeah, I'll do a cover. Let's do a cover. So I know he's a busy man. He's working through this. It's such an interesting perspective and stuff, but this is going to be, cover A. So we're going to have cover A. Cover B is the Matt Weldon one that I've been circulating around. It'll be fun. So
Clint, can you full screen it? So a little bit better. That cityscape is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of work.
I don't know how I do it. I think this is big. Wait, there's got to be. Here we go.
Full screen it. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
The action shot. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see it super well, especially because StreamYard's you can't pick out the detail real well. But he's got like the buildings. There's so much detail going on.
Yeah, I love the buildings.
Yeah,
you're gonna sell some books, my friend. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
How are you picking your person to do the cover art? Are you just going through regular channels, or are you like, how does one pick just their, oh, hey, can you just do my cover art for me? Here's my sketch, here's my plan, or because if he's overworked, I just want to know, like, oh, how'd you get that?
Kelsey just emailed me again. He's like, here's another one. It's updated. Here, I'll show this one too. Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, initially, I don't know, the more I've been doing this, I just meet so many artists that, like, it used to be really difficult for me to find out artists to work with, but now I've got a list of artists that I want to work with. Nice. So yeah, Kelsey Shannon is one that I just like his stuff. I like him. I like his stuff. We've talked a little bit. And so, it was just kind of a sort of natural evolution. I didn't necessarily like seek him out. We already had a relationship before he did the cover. So there you go. There's more detail. This is an updated one. But yeah, and then Matt Weldon did the other cover. And as soon as I saw his work, I just loved it. I love Matt's style and everything. So I would want to do an entire book with him, but he's so booked out. He's so busy. So yeah, I'll settle for a cover for now.
That's great. That's great.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be cool. What do you think, Art? Are there other ways that you find cover artists? You probably just know everybody. You just look in your Rolodex.
Yeah, well, I can't call those people anyway since the CG thing. We can talk. They won't do any work. It's a little hard getting outside people in, but there's a lot of people in our camp now like you said, Clint, there's Kelsey and there's Matt Weldon. So there's actually becoming quite a well of talent that we can pull from here and just kind of sustain and help each other. So I don't know. I think it's getting harder and harder to pull anybody from, the mainstream or other places. So I don't really even try that much. Although on Chrono, I got Carlo Barberi, who was the artist on Super Sons, and Aaron Lopresti, who's the artist on Justice League right now. But they're the exception. There's not a lot of people that have the kind of cojones to come here and associate the likes of us.
Well, didn't you also get Greg Capullo to do a cover for you recently?
Yeah, but that was in '94. That's an old piece. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't have a problem, but just trying to book time with Greg Capullo would probably be impossible at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I imagine probably expensive too.
The one good thing about that Greg Capullo cover is somebody just did an article on it. It may be the rarest Greg Capullo cover of all time, just because of the low print run. So the black and white cover may be the most collectible or sought after cover that Greg Capullo has ever done. So
I imagine there's got to be people that are just like Greg Capullo completionists, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be sought after if it already hasn't been. I don't know.
I need this.
Well, you know what's funny about that is for a while I worked at McFarlane. I worked on his toys and stuff like that. And they, at the time that I was there, they were working on like the completed work of Todd McFarlane. It's that big book where it has all of his stuff in it. And I didn't, for some reason, they didn't pass it around in the office for people to see, the people that were working on it. And when they had the preprint come out, they passed it around, and I was looking through it, and I was a big Todd McFarlane fan. So I was like, hey, man, you missed the Turtle piece he did. He did a Michelangelo and Turtles number 50. You missed this, cool. You missed that. And they looked at me. They're like, I didn't even know about that stuff. I'm like, well, doesn't Todd know? I mean, he drew it. I mean, he's right there in the office across the hall. Why didn't you just ask him? I mean, did you look at it? And I just thought it was funny. I was like, dude, man, it's like he's sitting right there. It's like, how'd you miss this stuff? You should have passed it around the office. And I don't know. I just thought that was really funny. It's like they didn't know.
Oh, that is funny. Yeah, that's cool. Did you do you know Vinny Tartamella? I always say his name wrong. Tartamella, yeah. I think that's correct.
Yeah, I didn't know him because he worked in the Jersey office, which is where a lot of the sculpting and stuff like that was done. I worked at the Phoenix office in Tempe. So, I was actually where Todd McFarlane, that's where his offices were, so. But I'm going to be on his show on Thursday. So if you're listening out there, you can come see us on his show on Thursday. So
cool. Yeah, I'm going to show this off too while I'm at it then.
Nice.
Yeah, Vinny did this piece for me for, again, the Downcast launch. This is going to be a print in it. But yeah, I was like looking around. Yeah, and it's art, just like you say, there's so many artists around. So like, yeah, I need Vinny to do a pinup for me. So I'm glad that it worked out. He made time for it. So it was great. But yeah, I'm stoked about this. I think it's really cool.
Wow, that's really good. That's cool.
I like the dust behind. That's really nice. Or the dust or clouds. Or you never know. I like that. That's a really good effect.
Yeah, it's a fun piece. Yeah. I'll see if he pops up in the chat at all. But yeah, I dig it. Fun stuff.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the book. I mean, we really enjoyed the first one. So we're looking forward to the second one. I think it kind of left us with wanting to wet our whiskers a little more because you left it on there at the end.
Yeah, there's this is a tough thing about crowdfunding. It's like I wish I could just do like a 6-issue series or something all at once and one graphic novel, but it's like it's just so expensive to produce. So 52 pages felt a little awkward. I think I've got it down better now. Like I don't know how I want it to be. So yeah, this next part, I really like the flow of it. I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. Been working really hard on it. So
Cool.
I gave my points on the show, so I told you exactly what I thought about it. So I
Love
was
it.
very excited and stoked, and I meant 100% what I said on Come Get Some when I talked about it. And I mean, I gave good, bads. I was like, you left me hanging. What?
Yeah.
But it was good.
No,
It was a good hit. So it was good.
no, that's good. I appreciate it. Yeah, and this Downcast 2, I just want to call it Downcast 2, but it's Rise and Fall. But yeah, it's gonna have it basically it'll complete the story arc, so there should be satisfaction. And I'm not sure. It's one of those things like I don't know what the future holds, but there's so much more I could do in that world. But I really wanted to give everyone a nice, satisfying end to the story arc. So yeah, that's the goal with the book. And then I do have the Secret History of Strata. While I'm going to show this off too. The Secret History of Strata is.
And we're getting all sorts of goodies tonight.
I know it's like that's all I've been doing all day is getting this thing ready for launch. So
volume 2 will complete the story.
it'll complete the story. There could be more, but I'm not like leaving it open on a cliffhanger. Let me just preview campaign. I don't want to share any information I'm not supposed to. Here, I'll scroll down. Tomorrow I'm going to show this off. Okay, there we go. Now I'll share the screen. Sorry guys, I'm fumbling through all
Are
of
you
it.
using the same people that you did for colors, and this one as well?
Yeah. So the line artist is Ignacio Lazaro. We call him Nacho, and Damian Penalba does the colors. So he's still going to pick up his mantle on the colors. This section of the what I did basically is I have 52 pages of the normal story, and then I added on a 26-page story that's going to be a little different. It's going to be prose, but there's illustrations in it, and depending on how well we do on the campaign, we'll add more illustrations. And yeah, that's the Secret History of Strata. So it basically just delves into the history of Strata. So here we go.
Yeah.
This is some experimentation on rats that happened in the 70s. And yeah, so I'm so excited about this because this is just an interesting thing. So
Yeah,
That page by
I love
itself
this.
looks awesome.
Yeah, this is great. I love this sort of stuff.
yeah, this is actually the line artist in the book. This is his brother. They're both artists that work under the same teacher. And they both worked on the same series as well. So they like traded off on issues.
It looks good. Is it hand done?
I'm not sure what his process is. I'll be honest. Yeah, I asked him for like a nice. This is supposed to be in the 70s in some kind of lab that is doing unethical experiments, and so yeah, he gave it like a really grainy look. Everything's super grainy, and I don't know. Yeah, he did another piece as well, but I'm like I got to save some things for the book. So yeah, I got Peter Gilmore as well. He did a piece for this. And basically it's how the people found the orb, how that whole history and how they got to the city and some of the stuff that went down in the city. So I'm really excited about this, and it's all going to be in the same book. So the book's going to be thicker, and yeah, I just want to give people more for their money.
Those colors are great. Like, it looks very muted. It looks like it's a period piece. And that's one of the things that we do with my production company. We look for period stuff. So it can, the focus is the date, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I immediately know this is from the 70s. I immediately know this is from, last night, something of that nature. So it's good.
Yeah.
Good eye for that.
It's cool. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of their style. It's, I don't know. It's really cool. I dig it. I want to show off some more tomorrow for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm almost like
Clint. I mean, if you want to do it tonight, I mean, we're not going to stop you.
Yeah, go for it.
no, I need
inspiration.
I need to give Kelsey the time he needs to finish that cover. That's what he would probably freak out if I was like, all right, we'll just launch it right now. But yeah, it's like, people are watching. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
you
excited.
don't have to launch it. You can just go ahead and show it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, just show it to us. Yeah.
Oh, just show it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show it to you guys after.
That satisfies your. Do I do it now or do I do it tomorrow? You're like, all right, well.
There we go. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm excited for it. It'll be fun. Cool.
I'm excited about it too, and we're excited about everyone that's doing something and launching. And I mean, it's a great time to like be creative and show your we're the Skids team. We're
Yeah.
excited for spring.
Yeah. Well, and a big part of it is just there's so many people that are willing to back indie comics, where it seemed like for so long it was like, if you're not an established publisher, then no money for you. I'm not buying your book. But there's a lot of people that are willing to give new books a shot, and I don't know. I think that's the great part about it. It makes it such a good climate.
That's why I'm here. It's viable now. It's a viable business model right now.
Yep.
How has it changed, Art? Because you were working for Image, right, in the 90s?
Yeah. How's independence changed, or just comics?
Yeah. Well, I mean, comics in general changed, but like going outside of the big two, do you think it's changed? Do you see similarities between now and the 90s?
I see some of the similarities in form of the spirit. We're all kind of willing to take on the world, kind of idea. It's like us against them, kind of mentality. And that we're not in an ego way thinking that we can do it better, but we definitely have a different voice, and we want to get out there and share it with people. And the voice, what I'm talking about is our IPs, our creation, our books. And I think that's a big part of it. And also that there's a fan base that is supporting it. Like Image Comics wouldn't have existed if there wasn't a fan base to support it. And I wouldn't be here, hanging out with you guys and doing independent books if there wasn't a fan base that supported it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the similarities: the spirit and the fan base.
Yeah. Imagine one of the big differences has got to just be the internet. The state of the internet is just, I don't know, it's just ripe for indie comics.
Yeah, well, in the day we had Wizard Comics, so that was kind of our voice. We had a lot of the magazines and stuff that were willing to do interviews, and even Diamond was willing to play nice with us, give us covers and give us full page spreads and stuff like that. But the main reason is because we were making them money,
Yeah, that's a good reason. That's a good reason. Cool. All right. Well, thanks. I think we're going to wrap up the stream. I really appreciate we've got the Skits Comics team here. Michael and Karshina. I hope I said that right. Sorry. Okay. Welcome. It was really great to talk to you guys. Again, you're doing it right. Getting out there and promoting it early on. So yeah, everybody, I posted the link to their pre-launch page. Check it out. That's in the chat. It's also in the description of this video if you're watching after the fact when it's not live. Art, great to see you as always. We love talking to you. Well,
yes, thanks for having me. And yeah, go check out Skits Comics. It looks really great. I'm just a sucker for like crazy people that don't know reality from fantasy. It definitely seems like a Terry Gilliam movie in the making.
Oh, heck yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Thanks a lot, Art, man. You're fantastic. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Art, so much.
Oh, no problem. And best of luck, Clint, with your new Downcast book.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and everybody. So it's launching tomorrow. During the day, it'll be a little bit earlier. I think. I just plan on tomorrow morning. It's going to be launching. Don't forget, like I've got those secret perks that are going to be coming to everyone's email. So I would just check and make sure that it's not going to your junk mail. Make sure that you're there. They are limited. So yeah, everyone that backs on day one, I just love you so much. Thank you. That's really, really helpful.
We'll be there.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow with a stream launching Downcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.